Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and very well, I'm going to get close to you there, Penny, and very welcome guests. Table topics, the words that are guaranteed to instill fear and anxiety into all of us. I'd rather go to the dentist, I hear someone saying. I'd rather have hours of root canal work than be dragged up to speak at table topics. And if that's what you think, you're not alone, because I think that as well. In fact, we all think that. Even the most experienced speakers here at Toastmasters must feel a surge of adrenaline as their name is called by the topics master to come and speak. That's the bad news. The good news is that I'm here tonight to give you a few tips as to how I can mitigate that anxiety that wells up inside you. And think about this. Not a day goes by, I would suggest, when we're in the office, in a meeting, standing by the water cooler, having a chat with our friends, in the bar after work on a Friday after a hard week, and someone says to us, Rona, what did you think of EastEnders last night? What do you think about Alfie and Kat? Are they going to get together or not? I'm sure Rona didn't actually watch EastEnders, but if she did, I'm sure you could wax lyrically for a good 2 minutes about Alfie and Kat and EastEnders. And that's the thing. We don't feel nervous in that situation, but why is it when we come out and speak at table topics, we have that anxiety? Well, I'm going to give you some tips, and I'm going to break it down into 3 sections. First of all, what to do and what not to do before you even ask to speak at table topics, i.e. when the table topics master is speaking. Secondly, the bit between when your name is called and when you come and open your mouth. And the third part of what to do and what not to do is when you start to engage brain and start to speak. So the first part is before you've been called up to speak. And what I'm going to suggest to you is we have to use more of these things on either side of our head. These are ears. Because, fellow Toastmasters, I think table topics is as much about listening as it is about speaking. Now, when we're an infant and when we're growing up at school, we're taught to read, we're taught to speak, we're taught to write. But no one teaches us how to listen. Listening is a really difficult skill. I'm not very good at listening, but listening is something we have to do better if we want to do well at table topics. So, when the topic master is introducing his theme, when he's introducing the sort of subjects he's going to talk about tonight, listen very carefully to what he or she is saying. And as they're speaking, listen out for some words or phrases that they're using in their introduction. Do any of them resonate with you? Do they cause you to think about something that might relate to the subjects that if you're called upon to speak, you can actually come and talk sensibly? But the trick is not to stop listening while you're doing that, because you've got to listen very clearly to what the topic is and what you're being asked to speak on. What not to do at this stage? Don't betray a lack of confidence. Don't try to avoid eye contact with the topic master. So that if I happen to be sitting down here, I'm hiding behind the rear so the toast can't actually see me. Or I'm shuffling my feet or looking down the floor like this. What you've got to do is eyeball the topics master, almost say, come and choose me, come and choose me. And when you're chosen, what you don't do is walk up to the floor or to the stage as if you're being dragged to a hanging. and you're going to be hung, drawn and quartered afterwards. You don't sort of stand up and think, oh, here, go like this and sort of, okay, right, well, I'm going to come and speak, but I have to. Gosh, right. What you do is you're sitting down here and someone says, Mike, come and tell us about the Beatles in Liverpool. And you say, great, that's me. I'm going to walk out and I'm going to walk out with confidence and appear confident, even though I haven't a clue what I'm going to say. Well, at least I give that feeling of being confident. Radiate self-confidence. The trick, not just in table topics or in Toastmasters, but in life in general, is to look confident, even if you're not. Right, it's your turn. You've been asked to speak on a topic, and you've walked out with a purpose, a sense of purpose, full of enthusiasm, ready to speak. The first thing you do is you take a big deep breath. You fill your lungs with oxygen. The oxygen will relax you and it will stimulate the grey matter and help you start thinking. So, and you look as if you're ready to go. And what you also have to do is do what the lady is doing on the front of the Toastmaster magazine this month. She's smiling. So what you do is you come out, you take a deep breath and you smile and look as if you're enjoying it, because you are really enjoying it, aren't you? It's a smile. Because the attitude is very important, and smiling is contagious. And if you smile, the audience will empathise with you and smile back and want you to do well. And if you see the audience smiling at you, it'll relax you and you'll do a great topic. Then, and only then, do you actually think about what you're going to say. So what you're going to do is make a decision quickly. So listen, if I have a topic and I say to you, Rob, do you agree with Descartes' view that the conceptual structural theory is in contradiction with the humanist form and existentialism? Well, that's a bummer of a table topic, isn't it? But Rob's a very intelligent man. He does lots of work with numbers. I'm sure he'd answer that very well in his own way. But the thing to do, no matter how much you're stumped with table topics, is to make a decision quickly. So when you come up here, you have to decide quickly, do I support the thesis or do I disagree with the thesis? What Rob might do, or what I would suggest people do, is walk out here and say, I agree wholeheartedly with that thesis that Descartes, that existentialism and conceptual structural theory is incompatible with each other. Because if you say that, and you say clearly, I agree wholeheartedly, it makes you look confident again. And the audience thinks, crikey, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then you go on to say, to use the triad approach, which we were briefed on earlier this evening by David. We say, I believe in that wholeheartedly, and I believe it because of 3 reasons. And then you go on to talk about those reasons. You only have one reason in your head at this stage, and then what the other 2 will be, but rest assured that those will come to you. As long as you have something to start going, they'll come to you. And the beauty of this approach is it gives some structure to the way you're giving your topic, and it gives you a roadmap, and gives the audience a roadmap that they can follow in this topic situation. Now, table topic questions can be pretty horrible, as per the one that I've just given to Rob, and which he's stayed silent, hasn't said a word. Yeah. So, even if they're horrible like that, you can twist them. You don't have to answer the specific question that you've been asked. You can answer part of it. Or you can use the trick where you actually turn the tables and talk about something else that's linked, or you make the audience think is linked to it. So what you might say is, on that question I've just given to Rob, I agree with Descartes' theory, but what's more, it reminds me of a story my grandmother said. And she said, Descartes' horses and Descartes were before the horses, or Descartes were before the horses, along those lines. So what you're doing is very neatly and elegantly leading from one question which is unanswerable, if I was honest, to something which is much more easy to answer. And what you don't do at this second stage is ask the topic master to repeat the question, because it shows that you weren't listening to the question in the first place. You can repeat the question yourself, and that's quite a good trick. It gives you a bit of time to think about how you're going to answer it. Repeat the question yourself, but don't ask the topic master to repeat it. Right, we're on to the final bit now. This is where I actually start to talk. And my suggestion here is to tell the truth. And when I say tell the truth, what I mean is use personal experiences to substantiate the 3 points that you've said earlier you'll make in table topics. Is there a way that the topic can relate to your life? Does it relate to people in your life, to your family, to life experiences? If you're speaking from a personal experience, it's much easier to talk because you were there and you saw it and you did it. But also, people in the audience enjoy personal stories. They like to hear about people and what they've done in their personal life. And if you can relate that to the table topic, it makes it easier for you and makes the audience enjoy the topic that much more. So, make table topics easier, tell the truth. But what you don't do is when the green card comes up at the 1 minute stage, you think, thank the Lord I'm there, and rush out to your seat and sit down. Because what the challenge is, to push out your comfort zone, is to actually speak for the full 2 minutes. That's the challenge of table topics. And once you're in full flow, you follow these suggestions I've made to you, you'll actually get through the minute and a half, 2 minutes quite quickly. So what I've offered you tonight are some tips to help you navigate through the choppy waters of table topics. But they alone, I'm afraid, are not enough. Let me illustrate the fourth thing I think you actually need with a story involving a golfer. There was a great American golfer called Arnold Palmer, Arnie to the golfing fraternity in America. And in the 60s and 70s, he was one of the top golfers in the world. And he was in a tournament, and he hit a ball from the fairway about 180 yards and landed about that far from the hole. And somebody from the gallery shouted, "Hey Arnie, why are you so lucky?" And Arnie went over to them and said to them, "You know something? The harder I practice, the luckier I get," he said. And that's the thing about table topics, you've got to practice. It's a generalisation, I suspect, but the people who generally are better at table topics are those who have been in the Toastmasters for longer, who've been in the club for longer. That's not always the case, but generally it's true. Now, how do you practice table topics without looking stupid on your own? Well, one thing you can do is just to take a few minutes each day, pick up the newspaper, and just choose a headline. Now, this is Saturday's Telegraph. And the headline there is "Horse in School Dinners." You all know that. You can just say, if you've got a few minutes spare on your own, just try and come up with a 2-minute story that relates to horse in school dinners. The other one, which I thought was actually more interesting, is on the columns. You can't read this, but it says, "Size is everything in bed." Now, if you can do that every day, that's the practice you need to help you become good at table topics. So, in summary, listen carefully to the topic master. Walk up to the stage with a purpose. Deep breath, smile at the audience, make them engage with you. Make a decision quickly as to what you're going to say and substantiate it with three supporting items. And talk about something personal, some personal stories that will engage the audience and make it easy for you. Now, it just so happens, spookily, that the next subject next item on the agenda is table topics. So I'm looking forward to you all putting into practice what I've suggested that you ought to do tonight. And I hope I've proved that it's not true that table topics is like having a baby. Great fun to conceive, but hell in practice. That's delivery. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.